Hey, Pine Lake family, I'm here today with former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, Mike Hurst, also part of our Pine Lake family. So, Mike, just welcome. Tell us just a little bit about you and your family.
Thank you for having me, Chip. My family and I moved to Rankin County about 4 years ago. We lived in Madison for about 12 years before then, and we've been at Pine Lake for about 2 years now, and we're loving the time here.
Well, man, we're so thankful that you're a part of our faith family and you make a difference in what you do. You and your family are engaged, and man, we're really engaged with even this topic that we're talking about today, which is human trafficking. So, man, can you kind of give us a sense of, man, how did you started a task force around that? Kind of how did your eyes get open to it? What was it that led you to start that task force?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. About 8 years before I was U.S. Attorney, these two men came from outside of Mississippi into our state, and specifically for the purpose of engaging in sex with a child under the age of 10. And this was in our backyard. It was something that I didn't ever think happened in our state. And that really opened my eyes, and it really started getting me to think about this problem that's in Mississippi.
Is the umbrella bigger than that? Is human trafficking more than that? What all would come under that title or that label of human trafficking?
Yeah, human trafficking is really defined as the exploitation of a person. It could be any situation where force, fraud, or coercion is used to take the freedom away from another individual. The last year for which we have numbers, which is 2019, we had almost 150 cases of human trafficking just in the state of Mississippi. And that involved almost 250 victims of human trafficking and almost 170 traffickers themselves. And if you look at the numbers, Chip, over the last 3 years, that number has tripled from what we saw just 3 years ago. And for the last, I think, 5 years, those numbers have all increased and are continuing to increase.
What does a person who is in human trafficking, sex trafficking, what is that? What is a profile, or is there a profile?
There's really not a profile. That's the scary thing. It can be what we sometimes think of as pimps in the prostitution world. But I'll be frank with you, Chip, a lot of times we saw human trafficking in families.
Wow.
We saw parents taking advantage of their children either to make money, to get drugs, or just to get by. And not only doing it in urban areas, but hiding out in our rural areas here in Mississippi. Even in small towns, you would absolutely have no idea that this would be going on. This is where those organized crime units would be operating human trafficking in urban areas and in rural areas.
What do we need to look for? I mean, because that's scary. I'm thinking this is, as Christy and I have been talking, I'm thinking Bangladesh,
right.
Philippines, some other place. But man, you're telling me it's here. How do we know? What do we look for?
Absolutely. I think anytime we as a church can engage with the youth, especially in environments where there might not be a dad at home, there might not be a mom at home, there might not be any parent at home, those are the type of children especially that these human traffickers prey on. They prey on those who don't have anyone. They prey on those who don't have connections. And unfortunately, what we have seen over the years is a number of human traffickers have engaged with children via various apps, various, direct messaging. They're very smart. I mean, these human traffickers are not dumb at all. They stay hid in the shadows, and they stay out of the limelight, and they entice these young people through, vanity, through, just praise, through love. And it gets back to what we as a church can do. Those individuals who have no one, we can be those loved ones for them. We've just got to step up and we've got to step out. We've got to get out of our comfort zone. If you see someone who's fearful, unusually fearful, if you see someone that doesn't make eye contact, that is always scared, all those things should raise red flags. And like I said, we as Mississippians, we don't really want to pry, we don't want to say stuff, but that one tip, that one action that we take might save that individual.
You mentioned fatherlessness or father figures, or speak a little bit about that, Mike, about the power of a man, a male, a father presence, in being a determining factor maybe, or a vulnerability.
Absolutely. I was blessed to have a incredible father. But what I have seen in law enforcement and what we've seen in a number of individuals that we've prosecuted over and over and over again is the lack of a father at home. I think the key is open our eyes and acknowledging that it's here, that acknowledging that it's real, and actually stepping up and do something about it. I mean, that's what it's going to take. You know, we all, and most of us in this church have that faith, but what are we doing? Are we acting on that faith?